What's up, guys? Polk here. Today we're going to be taking a closer look at the currency known as USDT. Now, this is my first ever live stream. Normally I do pre-recorded videos, but I was in the midst of my video today that I was making on one of the Ponzi coins. It's back in the mix. God, these things just never seem to die. And I looked and I saw the news about USDT. So, you know, I've had this video kind of in the works for a while, and it felt like now was the better time to get it going rather than waiting for a few more days. Now, let me just make sure and see. Oh, we got some people in the chat. We got a lively chat here, guys. Jesus. I want to welcome everyone to the chat. So, yeah, basically, we got some stuff going on with USDT. It's pretty much the top and the bottom of it here. Change the song over to this. We got some stuff going on with USDT. Now, I know that USDT is something that a lot of people have wanted to talk about for a while. I've seen a ton of demand for me to jump in there and, you know, do a USDT video. It was in the works. I had some research going on it. I've actually managed to get a few great researchers on my team so that I can get some more in-depth, streamlined information on what's going on with some of these currencies. And so, you know, I had this document. I was ready to go. It was on the weekly schedule, and then it just seemed like, given the recent news, it'd be better just to kind of pop in here and do a quick stream to cover what's happening rather than waiting for later in the week. Let's get a few shots in the chat going here before we get moving. Wild Deuces, what's up, man? Love you, Dougie. Music off. We're gonna put in faint music in the background. Faint music in the background, guys. It is. Oh, wait, hold on. Is my voice on too? Music off. Let's get this in the background too. Just a little light background music. Okay, cool. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about USDT. Now, I got a little outline for what I'm going to do for this vid. I've never done anything live before, so, well, let me rephrase that. I've never done anything live for cryptocurrency before. This is going to be a little bit uncharted territory for me. I hope you guys enjoyed what I got prepared. I got some documents, got some articles, got some stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about USDT, guys. Excited for it? All right, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. So let's start off with this. What is USDT? If you're a complete novice, you don't understand what USDT is. Well, USDT is a one-to-one pegged currency with the US dollar. So the idea is that it's a centralized cryptocurrency where every one of its tokens represents an actual US dollar. So it's kind of a way of adding some stability into, you know, the crazy madness going on online, where if you need to get money in and out of Bitcoin or Ethereum or really any of the other currencies, you can do so into a more stabilized cryptocurrency, USDT. Now, at least that's kind of the idea. It allows you to have more flexibility, more liquidity. You know, sometimes US dollars can be a bit cumbersome, especially when we look at some of the exchanges that don't even take US dollars, like Binance. So USDT is a way that we could have an actual cryptocurrency rather than just US dollars themselves, right? Which come with like a lot of legislation and rules and all this kind of stuff. It's a way of kind of getting around all of that and allowing your money to be a bit more liquid when trading amongst platforms. Now, there's a clear need, I think, within the cryptocurrency world for something like this to exist. But at the same time, you know, it has to be done correctly, because if it's not actually backed up by dollars, then in reality, you know, if it does crash, or if people don't believe in it and there aren't dollars there for people to withdraw, then the whole thing kind of falls apart. So that's kind of at least the idea. Now, as far as, let's go ahead and jump into my document here, actually, from one of the researchers here on my team. Again, thank you, Kevin, for your great work here. So here we have kind of a rough timeline, a rough sequence of events, if you will, on what went down with USDT. Let me actually pull the chat up as well so that I can see you guys. Okay, cool. Okay, so here we have like a rough timeline of everything that's gone down with USDT. And you can see that it was started, or founded rather, a few years ago. But realistically, the market cap on USDT had not been increasing until, you know, realistically the last several months. We see a $10 million market cap in January of last year, and we see a $1.6 billion market cap. That's actually like probably a week old or so. It's actually closer to over 2.2 billion now. So you see a pretty dramatic rise in the total market cap of USDT over the course of the last year. Now let's talk about, actually I'll scroll down a little bit here. We'll talk a little bit more about the market cap later. Okay. So let's talk about the link between USDT and Bitfinex. Now, there's nothing official out there as far as if, you know, the founders of Bitfinex also own Tether or are involved in Tether. However, they have really not directly denied the overlap of the two companies. So essentially, there's a lot of speculation that the Bitfinex CEO and some of his fellow operators are also behind Tether. Now, there's certainly, I think, some degree of correlation between the two. The direct thing is unknown. I said in a video earlier, a few weeks ago, where I said that they were owned by the same people. It's not correct. Well, it's at least not publicly correct. We don't know that for sure. But, you know, there's some of the same guys in the mix here. Definitely Bitfinex and Tether are connected in some way, tethered, if you will, to each other in some way. So what does that mean? Well, I think it adds some credibility to Tether when you have one of the largest exchanges like Bitfinex as, you know, as a project that other people in the company are involved in. But, you know, Bitfinex also has had its share of issues. There was a Bitfinex hack last year where I think $60 million or so was stolen. And Bitfinex, not really one of the best names in the industry when you look at the large exchanges. I think Bitfinex has had more than their fair share of problems. Too loud? What's too loud? Can't hear you? Okay, we're going to move on. So let's move on to some of the controversies here. You know, we understand why there needs to be a stable currency. We understand the value that can add. But let's talk about some of the real controversy that, you know, we see with USDT. And the first and probably the biggest one is the proof that the USDT is backed by US dollars. So let's just say, for example, let's just say that that Tether was pulling a BitConnect and this was just a huge scam, which I don't believe. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, they could say, oh yeah, guys, send us your money. We definitely have your dollars here in the bank. And then they don't have to actually do that. Obviously, if they're withdrawing that money or they're taking that money, then it's, you know, it would be a way to funnel those dollars into their own accounts. So the biggest question, I think, is how much of the total supply of USDT does Tether actually have backing for? Now, they claim it's 100%, it's 1-to-1. So they claim that every dollar that is in circulation is actually backed by a US dollar. But, you know, really until we see a full audit, which there has been controversy with, as we'll get into a little bit later, until we see a full audit, it doesn't really mean too much. It's safe to say that they have some type of fractional reserve, some percentage of the entire amount of USDT in population in circulation is backed by the US dollar, but we don't know if it's like, you know, 100 million, 500 million, a billion. We really have no idea until an official audit has been completed. So that's the biggest question. Are these dollars actually backed? Are these USDT tokens actually backed by US dollars? Next question. Are there serious risks associated with a major exchange responsible for operating a fiat-backed cryptocurrency? That's actually, again, we're going to talk more about that later, but that's actually, I think, my biggest concern when it comes to USDT. And I'm a little annoyed that I didn't get this video out a few days earlier because I was going to talk about this, but then, you know, they got subpoenaed today by the CFTC. So, you know, I really think that there's going to be some issues here, more so with if it's backed 1-to-1 by dollars. I think we see more issues with the U.S. government just trying to jump in there. But anyway, that's another concern. What do legal and financial experts have to say? And in general, is a fiat-backed cryptocurrency truly a safe answer to help implement mass adoption of cryptocurrency? So these are some of the big things that people have to worry about when it comes to USDT. All right, so I don't really want to get too much into the tech side of things. I'm the first person to tell you guys I'm not a tech expert, but this article does go on to talk about the protocol that it was built on top of. Originally, it was Mastercoin, and there was a rebrand. And I think it's also, there was a recent change over to using the Litecoin platform in June of last year. But I don't want to get too much into the tech stuff. We got a lot of other stuff to get into. Okay, so these are, according to Tether, their current balances. And we see $2.2 billion in USDT and about 15 million or so in euro, which is tremendously smaller. Pretty big balances, guys. Pretty big balances here for these guys. So that's a lot of money to have in reserves. You know, over $2 billion tied directly one-to-one. It's no reason there's speculation. Basically, they're saying, hey, we have over $2 billion in our banks, you know, which is a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and I understand why people might be concerned that they have that much involved. But one thing I will say in favor of Tether here is that when we look at how big Tether is in the context, how big cryptocurrency is in the context of total market cap, obviously a grain of salt with that statistic, but in total market cap, you know, 2 billion's not that ridiculous. Realistically, it's not. You know, we're looking at 2 billion against a market cap of somewhere around 500 billion. You know, it's like what, 0.4% of the total market cap. So is it really that unreasonable to think that there were $2 billion worth of people trying to enter into the cryptocurrency markets? I really don't think so. I don't think that's too unreasonable at all, frankly. So a lot of money, certainly reasonable given the nature and size of the entire space. To be honest with you, I didn't even know they had Euro Tether. So, you know, you live, you learn. So this is where we kind of get into Tether, saying all Tethers are backed by actual reserves and that their reserve account is regularly audited and you always have access to your balance there. This is where, you know, Tether is starting to say things that may not be true. Our reserve account is regularly audited. Okay, well, that statement might be tough to specifically disprove, so I'm not going to say that it's not true. But oftentimes their audits either have issues or we saw recently the auditors let go. And so there hasn't really been an official public release of an audit that shows the exact balances in some time. So we don't actually know for sure. We don't see these audits. They're not public. We don't know exactly what is going on that front. All right, let's get past just a few of these things. Otherwise, I think it's going to end up being a little bit too long. To summarize, Tether claims that their account is regularly audited. Their report released in September did not constitute an official audit. Friedman LLP makes it clear that the report is intended for internal use only. There is no guarantee Tether has a right to directly access their reserves. And currently, 4 months later, no audit has been released by Tether or Friedman. Not a good look, guys. It's not a good look. Yeah, bros, we're definitely audited for sure. Except there isn't an audit, you know. So they're not 100% on point when it comes to their audits. And we're talking about $2 billion. We're not talking about like a small loan of $3 million. We're talking about $2 billion here that they're saying that they have, but are not really having an official audit. So you can definitely see how this is going to raise some questions. This is going to raise some concerns that when we're talking about this much money, why are these audits not coming forward? Now, I think some people have indicated that the audits for Tether, maybe even Tether made a statement, I forget if it was specifically them or not, that these audits were taking too long and they were being too, I don't know what the term would be, but basically the process was taking so long that they wanted to get someone involved that could get it done more quickly, which, I mean, it's an audit. And it's an audit on $2 billion. So, I mean, it's like, why would you have an audit for this much money and just want to be like, yeah, just throw a little something together, guys. Like, just throw a little something together. So I don't know if that totally makes sense. Again, not sure if that was coming from Tether themselves or just the speculation around Tether. So here we have a screenshot of some Tether reserves from March 2017. Again, not really that important when we compare where Tether is right now to, you know, even of March of last year. Let's actually go ahead and bring up the market cap here. Oh, shit. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and take a look at Tether. Okay, so here we can see the Tether market cap over the last roughly year. Yeah, year to date. So in March of, or was this May or March, whatever. Let's just call it May. May of last year, we see $60 million in total USDT issued. And then we see roughly right around, this is March. So 31st of March, we see 45 million in reserves. And then we see total market cap at 25 million. No big deal. Clearly got the funds here, right? But the problem is we've seen a dramatic rise in the total amount of USDT in circulation. We see, you know, some growth over the summer, but really in early mid-November, all of a sudden the market cap just starts jumping, guys. We go from like 450 million all the way up to just about 2.3 billion now, which is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to get added into the ecosystem over this period of time. What accelerated it? Why is there this amount of growth now? What about this last, you know, amount that was printed just days ago? 600 million more USDT in circulation. You're adding $600 million into the, you know, the supply of this currency pegged to the dollar. But, you know, I hope you have 600 million added into the reserves when that happens. I mean, these are big numbers. So it's easy to see why people might be speculating that there could be an issue. Also, taking a look at the price here as we look at it, we see back in the initial, what caused this initial drop? So much information here. Okay, so I think back in April, they lost their banking, and you can see like a massive dip in the price to reflect this. You know, Tether went from $1, which is where it should be if it's truly pegged, down to 91 cents. What caused the 9 cents drop? And it was the loss of their banking. However, since then, since that point, we've seen a relatively stable USDT overall. Maybe in the last week or so, it's been a little bit dicier, but we've seen a relatively stable USDT. Well, what does that say to me? That says that despite all of the people, you know, ranting about how USDT is worthless, it's all going to crash, it's failing. Meanwhile, people are willing to bet with their dollars that it's not. Because if the speculation that USDT was going busto was true, then, or rather was believed by the people that have money, then I think we would see a much more aggressive return, or a much more aggressive placement to under $1 in trade value, because people sleep with their money. You know, money talks, guys. And if people are saying, all right, I'll buy your USDT for 98 cents or 99 cents, which is what has to be happening in order for this price to stay at $1, that means that there are many people, probably powerful people, willing to bet that this thing's going back to $1. And I'm even going to say that, by the way, I want to be clear as we get towards the end. I don't think you should hold USDT, and I think that there are some issues with it. But I think it's for a different reason there's a problem, not the company not having the funds. You know, let's just say that you're Tether for a moment here, you know, and let's just say that you're operating legitimately. Well, in that scenario, if you know that that's happening for the company, well, then you can very profitably buy back USDT at 98 cents, 97 cents, knowing that it's going to be worth $1. So that's one theory that I have as to why we see more of a stabilization in the price, is that people that are very knowledgeable and very powerful in this space know that it's worth $1 and are willing to back it up by buying USDT at below $1 rates, knowing that they're going to make money off of it. Could be happening, might not be happening. Point is this: despite all of the rumors and the problems and the certain issues with the audits that we've seen from USDT, we've seen price hover around $1, which indicates to me that despite those factors, there are people that are constantly buying up USDT at below $1 rate. That is good for USDT. It's good for the general market. And I think it does say a lot about the strength of Tether as a whole. Okay. We got some issues with Tether, but I don't actually think it's this one. Now, by the way, I also want to give a quick disclaimer here. I am not a financial advisor. This is for information and entertainment. And obviously all investments have risk. Also, if I had to give it like a 1 to 10 scale, is Tether going under because they don't have the funds? I'd give it like a 2 or a 3. I definitely would not say that it's a 0, 100% stone lock not going under. You know, I'm not Tether. I'm just telling you that when I see the market do this, when I see the price at this level, I think it makes more sense to me that Tether is backed fairly legitimately. Of course, I say this on the day that Tether is down to new peak lows. So who knows? We'll see what happens. All right, we got a little off topic here. Let's jump back in and talk about this document. By the way, let me see in the chat. Do you guys like this format? You know, normally I'm not one to go too much into the live stream format, but I want to test it out, say what's up to some of the viewers here, and you know, I just wanted to get this out ASAP because I just saw this going down. Also, by the way, if you're tuning in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that the like button. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Always happy to give you the good news. The good news today. All right, let's jump back in and talk about this document again. So we see that in March, reserves more than total market cap, and everything's good, right? Now we scroll down to the Friedman document showing that there was a lot more USDT issued. Actually, no, this is roughly the same amount of USDT issued as cash in the bank. Now, there's obviously some fine print and whatnot, but in general, we see USDT and cash reserves equaling roughly the same. So all seems fine. No official audit. Definitely acting sketchy with their auditors, but at least it seems like the money is there. All right. So I don't want to get too much into Bitfinex. It's kind of its own deal. Sorry, guys. I don't want to get too much into Bitfinex, kind of its own deal. We've talked about how Van der Velde was also involved in Tether in some capacity. It seems we've seen no direct denying of being involved, but I don't want to get too much into the Bitfinex aspect of this. All right, let's talk about some expert opinions. Oh yeah, we had the Wells Fargo freeze of the Bitfinex funds. Makes sense. All right, Charlie Lee. You guys might know him, founder of Litecoin. Recently sold all of his Litecoin because I don't know. That was one of the weirdest things I've seen. Guys, I just want to show you, like, guys, Litecoin is so legit. Litecoin is it's beautiful, really. Litecoin is beautiful. It's the future and it's beautiful. So I've decided I'm going to sell all of mine because its potential is it's uncapped. Litecoin could be worth $1 million one day. So I decided I had to sell all of it to show purity and love. Like, what was that? If you found a currency and you believe in it, don't sell all of it. Why would you ever do that? And the Litecoin community just rallied behind him like, yeah, man, do you? Yeah, it's awesome. Guys, he just unloaded all of his Litecoin on you. I don't understand. I don't understand why the community liked it so much. Anyway, Charlie, obviously legit guy. I poke fun. I do think that was ridiculous, but obvious expert in the world of cryptocurrency. And Litecoin, you know, I like Litecoin. I like what Litecoin's doing. It's basically just the slightly better version of Bitcoin. However, as Bitcoin solves their scaling problems, I don't see Litecoin having much of a place. Also, when we look at like the surge that we had in Litecoin price by getting added to Coinbase, huge for Litecoin. But, you know, guys, if you add any coin to Coinbase, what do you think is going to happen to the price? You're putting a new currency into like the greatest liquidity pool that there is in cryptocurrency. Yeah, so we've got like, you know, billions of dollars ready to buy stuff, and we put a new coin on there. And meanwhile, there's like no sell side liquidity because, you know, how many people have, at least on GDAX, how many people are going to have this currency? Well, GDAX has it, so it's actually a bad example. Point remains, you add a cryptocurrency to Coinbase, it's going up, guys. It could be any cryptocurrency. We could get Binx Bucks on there, and they would go to the moon. Binx Bucks right to the moon. Maybe a little Luna Loot while we're at it. Okay, so Charlie Lee, there's a fear going on that the recent price rise was helped by printing of USDT that is not backed by USDT in a bank account. I urge Bitfinex and Tether to perform a third-party audit to prove their reserves. Please do the right thing. Okay, so that's fine. I mean, look, I'm with Charlie Lee on this one. You know, I'm not as worried about USDT from, again, the financial backing aspects, but Charlie's right. You know, you gotta make sure that these funds are legit. We're talking about a lot of money. We're talking about a very big player in this space, and if they're not backing the money and it comes crumbling down, we're going to see all kinds of issues, right? First off, mainstream media. Look, the mainstream media hates us, guys. I hate to break it to you, like, man, I sound like one of those like alt-right nut jobs right now, but the mainstream media hates us. I watched TV yesterday, and Jack from Jack in the Box is telling me Bitcoin's about to go bust again for like the 10th time I've seen in the last like month. Like, there's going to be a lot of negative press attached to cryptocurrency, especially when you look at things like BitConnect. You look at things like all these new scams popping up. And so the more problems that we have with different companies going under, Mt. Gox, all these things happening in crypto, the worse it makes us all look, because then people can't trust us. Like, oh, I can't trust Bitcoin because BitConnect. Like, why? Nothing to do with each other, right? So I'm all for transparency, and frankly, if you're going to say that you're going to be transparent, like USDT has on their website, transparent. Our reserve holdings are published daily and subject to frequent professional audits. All tethers and circulation always match our reserves. Okay, you're going to say this, right? Cool. I'm with you. You have to do it. You can't just say it. Yeah, guys, we're definitely getting audits for sure. No, that's for sure. Okay, so I'm with Charlie Lee here. No formal audit been released yet. Now, let's see what else we got. Let's move on a little bit, actually. Don't want this to be too long. Let's talk about fiat-backed cryptocurrency. Is a concept like Tether really the most effective answer to price stability? This poses an even more interesting question. What happens when and if the US dollar starts to decline in value? At first, to some, this may sound crazy, but the world is entering completely uncharted territory. And by the way, it would not be uncharted territory for the US dollar to decrease in value. I know it's been a good run, guys. We've had a good run with the US dollar. Maybe not a Bitcoin run. Definitely not a Bitcoin run, but it's been a good run, right? The US dollar is not just going to go up in value for forever, especially when you consider inflation, things like that. Moving on a little bit here. So basically the question kind of becomes, let's actually talk about this side of things. So from the funds being there for USDT, I feel relatively bullish on that. I also think that when we look at USDT and we look at people trying to cash in their USDT, if there is a panic and 10 or 20% of people try and cash in, okay, well, then they only have to have 10 or 20% fractional reserves in order to cover, right? There's not going to be a period of time where 100% of USDT holders try and cash in their USDT. That's just not going to happen. So realistically, in order for Tether to face issues, there has to be demand for cash outs greater than the total amount of their fractional reserves for there to be issues. But they can have US government issues today. And they actually did today when they got subpoenaed by the CFTC. Now, that does not mean they've done anything wrong yet. A subpoena is actually like a demand for information. They're saying, look, you guys have to show us these records. You like legally have to show us what's going on here and give us some information. But let's just think about this big picture. You're the US government, and someone is issuing their own currency said to kind of be your currency by holding your currency behind and issuing one-to-one for it. You're essentially kind of acting as like a middleman creating your own US dollar. And I just can't see the US government getting behind that. I just can't see, oh, so you want US dollars that we can't track that are on the internet and people can use to buy cryptocurrency? Yeah, sounds good. We're in. No, what upside is there for the US government here? And I know, look, this is one thing that tilts me on this channel a little bit too. Everyone's like, oh, so you like the government? Dog, I hate you. Okay, look, the government's okay, guys. The government's okay. They do bad stuff sometimes, and I'm for cryptocurrency. But we have to work with governments if we want to see long-term implementation. By the way, thanks to Theo Chino here, $5 donation. Charlie Lee likes the infatuation. Look and listen to his testimony at NYDFS in 2013. The crypto gods have done nothing to prevent regulations. And they won't. They're not going to be able to. Guys, cryptocurrency is going to get regulated in some capacity. You know, we see places like China outright ban ICOs. You know, we're going to see regulation of some type. Even if that makes you angry, it's the truth. Traditional power structures aren't going to allow for new power to come in uncontested. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to succeed. That doesn't mean that, we're not going to really change the way that we use money in this world. It doesn't mean that Bitcoin is doomed. It doesn't mean any of those things. But it does mean that government, especially large governments, are going to try and play a role here because it's, first off, financially in their interest to play a role. And second off, they have the power to do so. So I think we're going to see that more and more. Now, the question becomes, at what point does the U.S. government do something? And this is actually, what I kind of wanted to talk about in this video before the subpoena today. And I'm not really totally sure, guys. They might never do anything. Really hard for me to sit here and say what they may or may not do. But as USDT gets into the billions of dollars in total supply, the U.S. government is going to more and more take a look at what's going on here and ultimately could shut this down. What does that look like? What if the U.S. government doesn't allow them to continue printing these? What if the DOJ steps in? What's going to happen in those scenarios? And so this is really kind of where I come to my conclusion. My conclusion on USDT, I wasn't going to get into this earlier, but whatever. My conclusion is that I don't think that the fractional reserves issue is that big of one. I do think that the crackdown from the U.S. government is a big concern. And so the question kind of becomes, is it worth holding a currency that its best upside is it'll be the same value as the dollar, and its potential downside could be a massive, if not complete, loss of value in the currency itself? Answer is no. So what I would say to you is this: I would say I think USDT is fine as like a quick hold between trades. I don't think that we're looking at an immediate meltdown of USDT, but it seems like a negative free roll to be holding any. If you guys don't know what that term means, like a poker term, but basically it's a negative free roll. So upside, nothing happens, and downside, you could lose a lot of value. It's kind of my take on the whole thing. All right, so let's take a look at some articles now, guys. Oh, the subpoena was on December 6th, not today. Okay, cool. Thank you, Batter Clef. Didn't realize that. I think today was the first that we saw of that subpoena, but I did not know that. Joe, I always mispronounce his name. Jao Sombrio. Hey, Doug Polk Crypto. Appreciate your content. Your videos help shed some light in the sea of ignorance and misinformation that YouTube has become. Thanks, bud. No problem, man. No problem. Glad to hear it. Okay, let's take a look here. Let's take a look at some stuff. Here we have the Tether website. I just really wanted to use this to show you what they're claiming, like the transparency of their audits. But let's kind of move on. We took a little look at the USDT markets earlier. Again, guys, Tether already back to almost $1 here despite the dip. That's honestly one of the most compelling things to me is the price. I know that there's a lot. God, I hate using the word FUD. I just hate that word. I'm just not going to use that word. I know that there's a lot of people that think that this whole thing's going under, but then meanwhile, we always see it return to the dollar. We always see it return. So what does that tell you? It tells you that there are people buying it under $1 pretty consistently. I mean, if we look at the past even few months, right, with USDT at complaints and at basically like a fervent pitch, we still see it almost never go under $1. Like we see briefly under $1 here, briefly under $1, always spikes back, and we see plenty of times with it over $1. Basically, whenever Bitcoin takes a hit, people sell their USDT or their Bitcoin for USDT because they got those weak hands. They're trying to sell out for something else. So, from just like the Tether's solvency side of things, I'm not too concerned about it. But from the government action side of things, I am quite concerned about it. Okay, next up. This is an article from Tether back in April. This is when they first had their banking issues, kind of compounded with the Bitfinex issues, banking issues, where like 180 million was held of Bitfinex's money. Nothing too crazy here. This article just talks about the price dropping below $1. As you can see, if we take a one-year graph, that was really kind of the worst moment for USDT back in April of last year. Got down to 91 cents, which ended up being quite a profitable buy here. And look at this like weird bull run. I never understand when USDT hits like 105, 108, like kind of insane to me. Here we have an article on Tether with 31 million hacked back in November. I'm not sure if you guys remember this. It was a couple months ago. It's funny to think November was actually before I'd even started this channel. But yeah, $31 million was stolen. Tether ended up claiming that they found a way to make it so those funds can't be moved. But, you know, 31 million, obviously a big number, but not really big enough to have a huge effect on USDT, especially when you have like over $2 billion in circulation. So this was the news that happened just 2 days ago. Basically, Tether and an auditor dissolved relationship according to rumors. This was bad because, again, what we talked about earlier, USDT claimed that, or Tether claimed that they're working with people to try and get these audits out and let everyone know what's going on, yet they can't seem to get an official audit out there. So much for transparency. More Charlie Lee in the mix. Oh, no, this is the same tweet, actually. Okay. And then, of course, the news today that the CFTC sends subpoena to Bitfinex and Tether. This actually happened back in December, as one of our viewers noted today, but obviously this only got brought to light now. A couple articles on that. Okay, I think that's going to kind of wrap it up here for most of the information. Let's go full screen here for a bit, and I'll answer some questions to the best of my ability, guys. To the best of my ability. Again, I'm not an expert, so keep that in mind. I am not going to be creating a cryptocurrency course anytime soon. All right, let's take a look at the chat here. Pop it out. All right, guys, lay it on me. What do you got here? To answer a few questions. Kevin Krajnak, why are you not a proponent of Tron? I don't like Tron because, first off, the whole roadmap seems kind of ridiculous to me. Seems excessively grand. I think that it blew up because of tons of just random hype. And I also think it's funny to go all in on Tron. Angel C says 2018, the year of Monero. They can't regulate us all 100%. Love your vids. Thank you for such truly informative content on both your crypto and poker channels. Thank you, Angel. Really appreciate that. By the way, I'm a big fan of Monero. Actually, I was planning on doing a video on Monero in somewhat in the near future, but we gotta see what happens. You know, the thing is, every time I'm planning on doing a video, some other stuff happens, and I'm like, oh, maybe that's what I should do a video on now. But I love Monero. I've had Monero for a while. I think Monero has a lot of potential. I think it's, you know, debatably the best privacy coin. Yeah, I think a lot of potential there. So I like what's going on there, and appreciate the donation. What else we got here, guys? Do you hodl wax? I got some wax. I'm not really up to date on what's happening with wax in the last few days, so I can't really answer questions on that front. I do think the idea of creating a currency that essentially allows people to trade digital assets makes a lot of sense, which is why I'm a fan of wax, and bullish on that long term for sure. Don't know too much about Chainlink, guys. Yeah, we'll do a video on Davercoin and Davercoin, Zookcoin, all those different ones. Stephen Martin, what happens to exchanges that only have USDT and no USD if the CFTC uncovers massive fraud? Okay, interesting. So I don't think that exchanges using USDT will face repercussions. I don't think. I'm not a lawyer, I'm giving you my best opinion here. And the reason is that they're just acting as a third party, allowing people to trade a cryptocurrency created elsewhere. Does that issue them liability? That's a good question, Stephen Martin. I don't think so, but I could see an argument that it could. So, man, I don't want to make an official comment because I just don't know. That's a great question, and maybe adds to some of the uncertainty shrouding USDT. Theo Chino, cryptos are intangible commodities, and trying to regulate them as currency only push people to the illegality. Dig into the story of Thomas Costanzo. Well, I think that they're being classified sort of as securities at this point, but you know, there are going to be bad people involved in cryptocurrency. There's no way around it. You can't prevent that. That's one of the biggest problems with them. In fact, if you look at, I saw a documentary on Netflix, something about Bitcoin, banking on Bitcoin or something like that. And, you know, the New York government, their biggest concern was, can criminals use this? And the answer is yes. And that's kind of the problem. The problem is that while most of the use cases for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are good, there will be illegal use of these currencies. Now, you know, I made a joke in one of my videos, which was like, right, and we never see that with US dollars when, like, you know, drug lords and US dollars. But at the same time, it does make those criminals' lives much easier to transfer money. So that's going to kind of be a problem that we're going to see them have to deal with for some time. It'll be interesting to see what kind of goes down with it. Naama Sherrison says, thank you so much for these videos and your sense of humor. Your opinion on ETC, sell, or hodl. Thanks for the donation, by the way. So I had ETC for a little while. You know, I think from like a purely theoretical standpoint, I like ETC more than Ethereum. I really dislike what Ethereum did in the fork. I think it set a really bad precedent. However, did I skip some people, by the way? I don't think so. I think it set a really bad precedent for, you know, how people could act. Basically, you don't want centralization with your currency. If you didn't see this video in the top 10 things you need to know about cryptocurrency or 10 things to learn or whatever that video I did was, I talk about it. Essentially, I like Ethereum Classic in theory, but the problem is in application, it's kind of a pun. In application, Ethereum ends up just having more users. So I would say sell your ETC. And it pains me to do so because I like ETC and I believe in it more, but if no one's using it, it kind of doesn't matter. Odd stock trader with $10 donation. Bitfinex! What's up, man? Welcome here to the stream. Glad to have you. Appreciate the donation. Blue Octopus, great vids. What are your thoughts on BTCP? So BTCP is Bitcoin Private, which will be a fork of Bitcoin / Z Classic. Haven't looked into it too much, but I like the idea of a more private Bitcoin. So, you know, I need to do a little more research on that, but I like the premise. Crypto Tim TV, $20 donation says, thoughts on all of these ridiculous Electroneum price predictions coming out as of late. Also, thank you for actually putting effort into your videos. No problem, man. Really appreciate the donation and the question. I don't know shit about Electroneum, to be honest with you. You know what? Maybe this is just the way that I view it. Maybe this is wrong. I don't know. But I kind of view Electroneum and Tron and like a bunch of those coins kind of all in the package of just these are essentially like based around people just getting hyped up and like promoting stuff. And so like I haven't even really taken the time to look at them. There are so many bigger things to look at, important things to research. Look, like every day I try and learn something about cryptocurrency, right? But there's only so much I can do. There's only so much I can even look into. So, you know, it's certainly possible Electroneum is paying people to promote it. Not saying that's happening. Certainly possible. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I could probably go through my email and see if they emailed me or not at some point. But there's such insane demand on people. There's just insane demand for YouTubers to promote shit right now. It is nuts. I get so many offers every day trying to basically like, Doug, I'll give you thousands of dollars to like promote something. You know, and luckily I'm in a position where I don't have to do that because I've been successful in other areas, but I understand these people that are trying to do that to make a living. I get it. Christopher Merritt, by the way, guys, thank you for all the donations. We got a ton of them. I'm really trying to get through all of them, but there's just so many. Would you say that Tether fraud could implicate and trigger investigations to all exchanges, not only Bitfinex? How Tether collapse compares to other coins? Thanks, keep the great work. Could it trigger investigations to other exchanges? I could see that happening. I could certainly see that happening. However, I don't think it's the exchanges. I would have to say no, Christopher. I don't think it's the exchanges that are going to have the problem here. I think it's the idea of attaching or pegging a cryptocurrency to the US dollar. I don't think that the government cares as much about the fact there are exchanges as protecting the circulation of their own currency. So I don't think so. I don't think so. David McPike, what are your thoughts on crypto poker? I see no point for it, frankly. Sorry, guys. I know a lot of poker fans here, I'm sure. I see no reason to play poker on the blockchain. Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense. David, hey, appreciate the $10 donation, man. Also a YouTuber here. I actually watched his BitConnect video before I did mine, so definitely recommend checking him out. And seems like one of the good guys in the fight against all the scams. Justin D, $2 donation. What am I going to do? Appreciate that, man. Okay. What are your thoughts on Litecoin? I talked about that a little bit earlier. I don't think it's disruptive enough to end up making a big difference in the world of cryptocurrency. I think it's too similar to Bitcoin. David McPike, $25 donation. What are your thoughts on crypto poker such as coin poker? Oh, you're just deleted it. Basically, yeah, I just don't see the reason to play poker on a blockchain. I think it's... You know what I think it's like, guys? I think cryptocurrency is super hot right now. And so people are trying to do crypto everything. But not everything makes sense to be crypto. It's kind of the top and the bottom of it. It's my personal opinion. Will says, any thoughts on Icon? OneChain. Keep up the good work. No thoughts on either. I honestly couldn't tell you anything about either one of them. There are too many currencies. There are simply too many currencies out there, guys. I'm sorry. Theo Chino, check the story on Thomas Costanzo. Do a video on all those guys in the future. The government charged them with a lot of shit, but the judge is dropping the charges. All right, Thomas Costanzo. I'll take a look, man. Neff Perez, Doug, can you make a video about BitClave? I probably will at some point. BitClave, obviously, a ICO I was involved in a pretty big way, but yeah, we'll do one of those at some point here too. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. I think we answered enough questions. I really appreciate all the donations. I appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. Got some videos coming up. We got some funny ones this week. I think you're gonna enjoy. A couple of reviews and some coins that I like. Trying to do a live stream every now and then. But yeah, it's been real. Really appreciate all the community support. Thank you for all the donations. And one last thing here. While we're still figuring out this YouTube ads situation where they're basically just allowing ads that are Ponzi scheme coins, I'm going to be disabling ads on my channel as much as possible. I can't do that on every video because some of them I don't get to control because someone else owns the revenue. But I'm just simply not going to allow my audience to get scammed. It's just such fucking bullshit that YouTube's allowing that. That's actually going to be my next video. So if you want to see a video on that coming up, probably tomorrow, maybe today, maybe next day, whatever. It'll be in the next few days. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up button. Thanks for dropping by. Hope that kind of opened some people's eyes on what's going on over at Tether. There's a lot of information, but I enjoyed it, and it was good getting to see some of you guys. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I'll see you later. Peace.